The Sunday school lesson for March 31st, 2024 is the resurrection of Jesus. Luke chapter 24, verses 1 through 12, and verses 30 through 35. Welcome to my channel, The Backstory and More. Today I am recounting the resurrection of Jesus. Verse 1. Now upon the first day of the week, very early in the morning, they came unto the sepulchre, bringing the spices which they had prepared, and certain others with them. Verses 2 through 4. And they found the stone rolled away from the sepulchre, and they entered in and found not the body of the Lord Jesus. And it came to pass, as they were much perplexed thereabout, behold, two men stood by them in shining garments. Verses 5 through 7. And as they were afraid and bowed down their faces to the earth, they said unto them, Why seek ye the living among the dead? He is not here, but is risen. Remember how he spake unto you when he was yet in Galilee, saying, The Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of sinful men, and be crucified, and the third day rise again. Verses 8 through 10. And they remembered his words, and returned from the sepulchre, and told all these things unto the 11, and to all the rest. It was Mary Magdalene, and Joanna, and Mary, the mother of James, and other women that were with them, which told these things unto the apostles. Verses 11 through 12. And their words seemed to them as idle tales, and they believed them not. Then arose Peter, and ran unto the sepulchre, and stooping down, he beheld the linen clothes laid by themselves, and departed, wondering in himself at that which was come to pass. Verses 30 through 31. And it came to pass, as he sat at meat with them, he took bread, and blessed it, and brake, and gave to them. And their eyes were opened, and they knew him, and he vanished out of their sight. Verses 32 through 33. And they said one to another, Did not our heart burn within us while he talked with us by the way, and while he opened to us the scriptures? And they rose up the same hour, and returned to Jerusalem, and found the 11 gathered together, and them that were with them. Verses 34 through 35, saying, The Lord is risen indeed, and hath appeared to Simon. And they told what things were done in the way, and how he was known of them in breaking of bread. A brief summary. The time of day, very early in the morning, showed us how eager the women were to complete their task. Psalm 30, verse 5 says, Weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. God would dry the tears of all Jesus' followers and change the course of world history. Mark chapter 16, verse 3 told us that the women wondered who would roll the stone away so they could gain entrance to the tomb. When they saw the stone already moved, they may have been both relieved and startled. Who had done this, and why? Perhaps the women thought that Joseph of Arimathea had courteously spared them the burden of trying to roll back the heavy stone. If the women were not disturbed by the moved stone, the fact that the body was missing certainly alarmed them. These same women personally had followed Jesus to the grave and witnessed the location of Jesus' lifeless body, so they knew it was the right tune. God quickly supplied an answer through two men who were clad in clothes that gleamed like lightning. They were later identified as angels, Luke chapter 24, verse 23. This event parallels the appearance of two men to the disciples to interpret Jesus' ascension into heaven, Acts chapter 1, verse 10. Perhaps God chose two angelic messengers to satisfy the requirement that weighty claims be confirmed by two witnesses. Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 6, and 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 1. With the angel's words of clarification, it all began to make sense. What the disciples had never caught on to during Jesus' ministry, the women finally began to grasp. Jesus' suffering and death had been intentional, as was his resurrection. The 11 disciples, Judas had taken his own life, Matthew chapter 27, verses 3 through 10, were the first to hear the relayed news. Luke did not tell us of Judas's suicide here, but he alluded to it in Acts when the apostles selected another to take Judas's place. Acts chapter 1, verses 12 through 26. The resurrection was an extraordinary event that required great faith to accept. Even when Jesus revealed himself to his disciples in person, they expressed doubt, wondering whether he was a ghost. Luke chapter 24, verses 36 through 43. As they sat at a meal together, something remarkable happened. Whatever had been keeping the two disciples from recognizing Jesus was removed, and they now realized that the risen Lord had been sitting right there with them. No sooner did his glorious realization dawn on these two that Jesus was gone. Jesus' post-resurrection appearances and disappearances have an aura of suddenness about them. Matthew chapter 28, verse 9, and John chapter 20, verse 19, and verse 26, and John chapter 21, verse 4. When the two disciples returned and began to tell of their experiences to others, Jesus appeared and stood among them. Jesus' appearance was completely unexpected and startling. These disciples knew for certain that Jesus had died, and to see him caused shock and fear. They recognized Jesus immediately. That was the very reason they were startled and frightened. Thank you so much for listening. Join me soon for the next backstory and more. Happy Resurrection Day.